Welcome everyone to our quarterly executive live stream. I'm Adam Miller and I'm joined here today with Mark Deere, our EVP of Dedicated, and Jim Fitzsimmons, our Chief Operating Officer. We plan to cover several topics and if we have time, maybe answer some questions that come through the feed here. So we'll touch on the freight market, on the over the road side, as well as Mark will maybe touch on what's happening in the dedicated space. We'll also touch on some of the actions we're taking for technology in the cab of our trucks, and we've got quite a few questions around that, so we'll give an update on things that relate to the tablets, the camera systems that we're putting in, and updates to Point, the workflow technology that we use in the cab of the truck. We'll also spend some time talking about the trailers that some of our third-party carriers haul for us and why that's good for Swift. Jim will spend some time on that. We'll touch on owner-operator pay, the load board, and the percentage pay that we're working on. Mark will spend some time on service. And then both Jim and Mark will talk about how we're addressing, what our approach is to driver pay, both on the over-the-road side as well as with dedicated. So got a lot for the live stream here today. So I'll start first with the freight market. I think the last time we were here, there was quite a bit of uncertainty about what we were going to see in the second quarter, just given the tariffs and maybe the change in the delivery patterns of many of our customers. I think what we saw was a lull in May and early part of June, but maybe not as severe as maybe some had feared it could be. But then also the snapback in June maybe wasn't as pronounced as maybe others thought as well. It was a little bit more consistent and stable than maybe some thought it could be. And so that led to a better close to June. We did see some good activity with the rise in some pop-up opportunities and some spot market opportunities that came our way. But obviously we had a little slower May than we had really hoped for, what you typically would see seasonally. Now, when I move forward to where the market is today, July started off a little slower coming out of the 4th of July, which is typical for seasonality in our space. But we are seeing miles, load count build as we get into the back half of July, which I think is encouraging. I think there's still a good amount of capacity available in the market for your normal committed freight. But what we're seeing from some of our customers is when they're trying to surge, they have projects out there or acute needs, it's a little tougher to find excess over-the-road capacity to fulfill those projects or those needs. And this is what we do extremely well at Swift and some of our other brands as well. We have a tremendous amount of scale with our fleet. We have a lot of trailers that we can put to use with our customers. And so we're having a good amount of dialogue now with some of our customers that potentially have some projects that could start late third quarter or into the fourth quarter. And these are conversations that we really haven't had with our customers over the last 3 years. So I think we're encouraged by it, still cautiously optimistic. We don't know what's going to actually materialize, but it does tell us that enough capacity is coming out of the industry that it's not as easy to meet some extra needs that you may have when you have a push to move some product that's above your normal commitments. So I think a little bit encouraged, but hey, we still got a lot of work to do. Our people are out there pushing to bring on new customers, to solicit freight, and certainly have enough loads to keep our drivers moving throughout the network and earning a good paycheck. Mark, you want to hit on dedicated?
Yeah, Adam. So I know where some of those trucks, OTR trucks, have gone. They've gone into the dedicated segment. So, when we talked last time, we didn't build a whole lot of growth for dedicated in the first half of this year. Competition has gotten fierce. Several of our large public competitors have added resources moved resources from OTR into their dedicated platform. So it's gotten a little bit crowded the last couple of years. But hey, we've got great customers and long-term relationships, and we've been able to work through renewing a lot of those fleets. Obviously we've had a few losses here and there. We've won a few fleets in the second quarter, but we just didn't see a whole lot of movement overall with dedicated growth. So the second half of this year, we did forecast a little more growth. So Right now, we're working on some of that as we go into the third quarter, and you'll see a couple wins here on the home front, and so we're excited about that. And then it's going to be, can we retain the rest of our business as we go through the second half, and can we add a few fleets in the fourth quarter, which is usually a time that we don't grow the fleet because we're busy supporting our incumbent business. So, it's like I said, we've got great customers, but they're making decisions based on their company needs and what they need to do to be successful in their industry. And so we're morphing with their businesses. We're trying to be very flexible. Our drivers have done a tremendous job. We've received a number of accolades, which I'll talk about a little bit later under service. Just the great job our team does to support our customers, provide creative solutions, and continue to add value to their supply chain. So, hey, we're not seeing a great strides in the dedicated market, but we are looking for a better second half of the year.
Yeah, I think the team's had great performance, and it does feel like the worst is behind us in terms of some of the pressure we felt on renewing some of the fleets that we had, and also the pressure that we felt on the over-the-road side. So now it's, I think we'll see the market incrementally improve, but it may be a little bit slower than we had maybe hoped, but certainly feels like the worst is behind us.
Yeah, we're a large player in the dedicated market. We're an industry leader, and again, we've got a great product to sell. We're trying to combine dedicated, as I talked last time about one dedicated, where we can be a single stop solution for our warehousing product, for dray, obviously our other Swift lines of business, and then our multiple KNX brands that we can tie into a single solution for our customers. So trying to be very creative on that front as well.
Yeah, no, appreciate that, Mark. Jim, do you want to touch on some of the work we're doing around owner-operators?
Yeah, so we currently have an owner load board, and that continues to gain traction. For those of you that are familiar with that, you're probably aware we've been talking about doing a market-based pay similar to a percentage pay. So in the next 2 weeks, we're actually going to have a pilot program with 25 owners that'll be in that pilot program. So excited to get that launched. Before we roll this out too big, we want to make sure the first 25 things go smooth. It works kind of as we, it works as we intend it to work. But so far, we're seeing a lot of success with that. A lot of good feedback from the owners, having the ability to pick and choose the freight they want. Next step will be tying in, the rate that will be tied to that associated load. So excited about that. Going to continue to roll that out once we get, kind of through the pilot program. We'll ramp that up and continue to grow that.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of investment around this kind of material change and how we approach the owner-operator group and giving them flexibility, giving them choice. So we're excited to see kind of the next phase of that load board develop.
Yeah, it's kind of a slow rollout because when you talk about, freight and, Mark hit on service a little bit, to talk a little more on that later. But, we have to be very cautious about how we do this so that we don't, two things. We don't want to blow up the freight we're putting in there by service failing. We also don't want to jeopardize the owner's pay. So we've been very cautious as we roll this out to do it the right way.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to that, Jim. Maybe I'll touch on some of the things that we're doing for technology in the truck. We just completed the rollout of Geotab, and so that's live in about every one of our trucks, and just working on any little tweaks that need to be made. And we're getting feedback that we may see any challenges that we have and making adjustments and working closely with the Geotab. But largely, that's been a success and a good transition from the Zonar device. A couple other things that we're working on there, tablets was a question, and so we're now on a cycle where we're going to replace out about 20% of our tablets every year, aligning that with when we would replace our truck. So really when a truck is on a 5-year replacement cycle, so when a truck goes out, we'll replace the tablet. So it'll take a little bit of time for all the tablets to go through that process, but we realize technology ages out. Technology advancements move pretty quickly, and so we got to keep the tablets refreshed. And so we certainly have that as an opportunity to improve on, and we're working towards that. We've talked about making a transition in cameras in the truck, so the outward-facing camera converting from Smart Drive to Netrodyne. And so we're going to start this month with converting about 200 to 300 cameras in our company trucks. And we'll just continue to roll those out, assuming that there aren't any hiccups, aren't any challenges. We'll watch that closely. We expect to have that completed by Q1 of next year. So it's going to be a pretty aggressive rollout. We're excited about the tool. We think it's very fundamentally different than Smart Drive, where it's looking at positive reinforcement and the focus is on staying in their green zone. And so the target will be 850 points in the green zone will be the bonus threshold. And in the month that you're converting from Smart Drive to Netrodyne, we'll automatically credit you for the safety bonus because the scores will be tough to manage between the months. Now you'll still be required to do the videos and the other criteria along with safety, but in terms of your score, you'll be credited for the bonus for the month in which you make that transition. I know we get a lot of questions around that. We'll also have their application. I believe it's called the Driver Eye app. That'll be available in the Point app that we have on your tablet. So you'll be able to see your score. You'll be able to look at the events that you have and really track your progress. And then we'll also have some training on Netrodyne that's going to be available in September on SwiftU. So there'll be a course that we'll ask all of our drivers to take so you get familiar with how that technology will work. So really looking forward to that advancement and what that means for our drivers.
And just to clarify, at Swift, forward-facing only cameras, not in-cab cameras.
Yep, no inward-facing. Yep. One more update is on the Point app. And so we've got a lot of things that we're working on there. I think we just rolled out the PTA enhancements. So now you have the ability to view your PTA and update it on a dashboard. So that's a nice feature that was just rolled out. In Q3, there's quite a few things that we're working on within Point. We're going to be doing some navigation accuracy updates and ensuring that we're providing safe routes to our drivers. So we're excited about that update and what that can mean for our drivers. We'll give you text directions as well. So similar to what some other navigation devices have, you'll see in text what the directions are. We'll see posted speed limits on the tablet, so you'll know what the speed limit is. We'll have some auto arrival prompts, so to make it more efficient when you're transacting, to know that it's easy to respond and ensure that you're updating that you've arrived at your location. You'll have a to-dos list or a missing paperwork list. If there's something that we need you to do, we'll be able to update you to help with the workflow with the device. So a lot of things that we're working on there. We're partnering with Elios, a company that we own, who's developed the Point software. We've got a team at Swift that's really directing what we want to focus on, and so we're getting a lot of feedback from our drivers, from our operations team on where we need to spend our time and energy, what's the most value for our drivers. So just know that we're continuing to invest in that tool to make sure that we provide a great experience for our driving associates. Okay, Jim, you want to talk about some of the trailers that you see some of our third parties hauling and why we do that and the benefit to Swift?
Yeah, and I'll be the first one to admit that I still write trailer numbers down when I see it just to verify that we know who's hauling that trailer, because occasionally it happens where one gets out and we're not aware of it, and typically it's kind of a stolen type situation. But we do what's called power only. We've talked about this before, and I feel like the more we talk about this, the better it is, because it's a good thing for the company. Now, for a driver looking for a trailer, if you're in a market where trailers are tight, you might be thinking, are you crazy? Why are we letting other people use our trailers when I'm having a hard time finding one? We're very selective about where we do that. And so we've got a lot of, when I say a lot of extras, thousands and thousands of extra trailers out there. And you go back to 2020, 21, and maybe early 22, trailers were a commodity that you just couldn't get enough of, because customers didn't care when the load shipped. They just wanted to get the product loaded onto a trailer just to get it out of their warehouse, because there was so much freight flowing. And so we never did sell any trailers. And so we have a ton of extra trailers right now. We are in the process of looking at refreshing some of the older trailers. But what that power only allows us to do is get more revenue. And so we haul freight through our logistics division. They then give that a Swift trailer to a power only truck. So you'll see a truck you don't recognize hauling a Swift trailer. I tell you, probably 95+% of the time, it is an authorized move. We know who's hauling it, and they're being charged for that move. And we're very selective about where we do that. Oftentimes, we could even shift trailers from one market to another. Like currently right now, we're tied on trailers in the Memphis market, It's an ability for us to move power only into the Memphis market to help give us more trailers where we need them.
Yeah, and most times it's in a market where we don't have available capacity to move the load. So we can keep that revenue in-house, bring on a third-party carrier and move that load in our trailer, so it gives our customers still the drop and hook capabilities that they want from Swift. So it should be a win-win, and hey, in a market where you do need that load for a truck, now you can pull that from logistics, give it to one of our assets. If we turned it down altogether from the beginning, we wouldn't have that load to select from. So we worked hand in hand between our asset-based business and logistics to find the right balance of when an asset truck needs a load, we ship the load, but we might as well keep that revenue in-house and again make sure that we're not getting our trailer pools out of balance, but it's an opportunity to sweat that equipment to generate a better return on the investment in those trailers.
Yep,
Yeah,
definitely.
it gives our customers more geographic lane, opportunities where it may not fit Swift, and or it may not be at a rate that we would normally use our asset equipment on. So logistics is able to find others that can haul that. So.
Yep. Okay, thanks, Jim. Mark, do you want to touch on service?
Yeah, so I've been in this industry a little while, and service has always been deemed as important. But I will tell you that in the last probably 2 years, service has been viewed as more important than ever. I mean, it is the ticket to the dance. With so many carriers looking for business and willing to lower rates and do other crazy things, service is what allows us to stay and get a rate that's fair with the service that we're providing. And as we go around and we talk to customers, they'll say it. Hey, if you don't service this lane or you don't service this fleet or whatever, then I'll find somebody that can do it. So a lot of pressure on us to perform. Now the good news is we've had a lot of accolades this year from customers about being Carrier of the Year, Intermodal Provider of the Year, OTR Provider, Dedicated, you name it, from our customers. So they're willing to recognize our accomplishments and our performance. But if we don't have that, even at a basic level, we're not going to retain the business. So asking that all the folks on this call, we really need to take service serious. We've got to be safe, first of all, and then we've got to perform at a high level. And if there's any exceptions or anything, we've got to communicate that back to your driver leader, or we'll do it internally with our customers. So it's just so critical that we perform at a high level, because that's just the expectation today. And if we don't do it, we're not gonna keep that business.
Yeah, when we visit customers, if you have a service issue, right away you're on defense.
Yep.
You're no longer there to try to win more opportunities for our company, for our drivers. So having good service is really the gatekeeper for you to go in and try to win more business.
Absolutely.
And these days, it's not just delivering to the final on time; it's the pickup as well. I mean, our customers have all the metrics. There's so much data out there. There's nothing that gets by without them knowing about it. So, like Mark said, that goes for dedicated, line haul, any fleet you're running in. Service is definitely the ticket to the dance, as Mark said.
And to Jim's point, I mean, our customers are tracking everything we do: pickup, delivery, en route. How much product's on that trailer. How many hours our drivers have. Available to run a certain load, and it's just they're driving more and more precision into their supply chain, and we've got to change with that. Mm-hmm. We can't operate like we did in the 90s when getting there on the day it was supposed to deliver was good enough. Now it's down to an exact time or a small window.
Right.
And we
or penalized for being early.
Yeah, and you can't be early either.
Right.
So a lot of requirements there, but please help us. I mean, service is really important to our success.
Yeah, and hey, our drivers do a great job.
They do.
We get a lot of accolades, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. It's just, hey, it's something that we can never lose focus on.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, hey, Mark, Jim, do you guys want to touch on driver pay? Jim, do you want to maybe start on the over the road side?
Yeah. So I saw a couple comments on there that somebody hasn't got a raise in a few years, but we haven't done an just kind of across the board increase. But with line haul, it's based on miles or tenure, and so depending on where you're at, mileage or tenure, you continue to go up. So we haven't got rid of that. I didn't look to see on who left that comment specifically. They might have been at a rate that's capped out. I can't remember how many years it caps out, but you got to be up there quite a few years, many years before that hits a max. At some point when this market eventually turns, we will be looking at, where can we do an increase even on the drivers that would be capped.
Yeah, so on the dedicated side, and we've talked about this before as well, is we establish our driver compensation based on the work that our drivers are doing on a specific fleet, because every fleet is different, the geography is different, the work assignments, et cetera. So we match the pay package with the work, and that's what we charge our customers. So our customers are willing to in markets where they feel like they can invest in their fleets, and it's needed to support that fleet. Like during the pandemic, they were all aboard in helping us get increases for our drivers. But in this down cycle that we've seen, our customers are under a lot more pressure to keep rate flat or even reduce rate. So we've had a lot of discussions with customers about, hey, you either keep it flat, Swift Dedicated, or we're going to bid it out and someone else may come in and take that fleet. So I would tell our dedicated drivers, we're certainly cognizant of the need for future increases. I will also tell you that our dedicated drivers on average are paid among the highest lines of business within Swift. So we're still doing okay. Is it necessarily keeping up with inflation or some of the comments that I read? May not be, but we're certainly out there battling for you. And when the market allows us to work with our customers on having them invest in our fleets, driver pay will certainly be a high consideration.
Yes, as Jim mentioned, one of the first things we look at when we start to see the market turn positive and we know that we're getting rate improvements, first thing we do is what do we want to share? What can we share with our drivers? And it's just we've been in a tough period. I mean, our rate per mile has gone down 20% since the high in 2022. And so we've been holding driver pay through that whole process. But hey, we want to get back to a place where we can start to give more to drivers.
Yeah, and maybe it might be good to kind of educate everyone on the difference between a freight recession and a normal recession, where as rate drops, all of our costs drop. In a freight recession, it's the exact opposite.
Right, because we had we brought way more capacity into the market than the freight volumes could afford to support. We felt pressure from our customers to lower rate because there's too many trucks chasing the same number of loads. But at the same time, the economy has been doing fairly well. GDP has been improving, so we haven't seen the cost reductions on trailers, on trucks, on the insurance front, all the commodities that we buy on the fuel front. So really, we've seen a big decrease. Really, the industry has. This isn't unique to Swift. The entire industry has seen pressure on rates without the offset from inflation. And so we've been battling that. Margins have been compressed across our industry. But again, we're committed to providing a great job with a good paycheck for our drivers. And certainly when we have opportunities to improve that, we plan to do so. That'll be one of our top priorities. Okay, well, I think that's all of our topics. Jim, how are we doing for time for questions?
We still got 7 minutes, so we can definitely have some questions. Let me hit on one, because I saw one that, again, things have been tight. We've had to kind of pull back on some of the money that we've normally would spend, and some of that's around celebration. So, we haven't stopped doing the 3 and 4 million mile celebration. Done that every year. That's probably the most fun I think I have all year. It's such a cool event. We bring everyone, the drivers, they bring out a significant other. They get to pick an office person to come with them, and we make a really big deal about it. That's always a really fun event.
It's a special event. I mean, it's no doubt. I mean, it's
you almost have to experience it to understand kind of what we're talking about. But on top of that, we've always done 1 million and 2 million mile events at the terminals each year. Now, that was something we kind of put on hold. We have recently taken that back off hold. Mark and I were talking about this earlier. There's been some terminals that have already done it. Other terminals are planning. And in this case, it was a driver with 1 million miles asking, how come we haven't done anything to celebrate that accomplishment? So, maybe reach out to your terminal leader, find out when that event's going to be. But I would tell you, it's going to be coming up probably in the next 1 to 3, 4 months, because we kind of just asked everyone to spread that out over the rest of the year. But we're going to definitely be celebrating. That's a huge accomplishment as well, hitting 1 million or 2 million miles at Swift.
Yep.
We've also got, just as a reminder, we've got National Truck Driver Appreciation Week coming up in September. I think the Monday is the September 15th through the 19th. Not sure if we're starting on Sunday or not this year, but hey, great opportunity for us again to recognize all of our drivers. No matter what line of business, what brand, they just do a tremendous job, and we're very proud of that group, and it's great to get to see and spend time with our team.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's another question on, this is more companies are making sticker badges that drivers place on their trucks to recognize milestones. That's something we do at Swift as well. We do, Mark, you can help me out. I know we do one for dedicated.
Yes.
We get veterans, Million Mile. I think there's a few more, owner operator. There's I think there's several more that we do have.
3 and 4 million miles.
3 and 4, yep. Exactly, yep. We've talked about even doing where we recognize the mentors. We haven't got that one all the way through, but I think that'd be kind of a cool one, because I feel like when you see somebody that is a mentor, a lot of times you'll see them wearing a shirt. A lot of times if they're wearing the shirt, to me that kind of tells you that they don't mind being asked questions by a new driver, whether they work for Swift or not. I feel like those guys are really out there to help the new drivers understand what it takes to be successful in this industry.
Yeah, we want our drivers to be proud of their accomplishments and to be recognized by others when they see that on their truck.
Yeah, in fact, that was the recommendation that our dedicated drivers had, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, where they wanted to be seen going in and out of customers and recognized as a dedicated driver and as part of that fleet. And we did it, and we actually have 5 different badges that apply to dedicated. So it's got a lot of great feedback, and I see them on trucks all the time.
There was another question around, and I had to look this one up because I didn't know why. I was asking, why did we remove the Engage app? And I know you talked about the Point app as the replacement, but that technology basically got phased out on us. And so it wasn't a decision we made, it's just the technology no longer was supported. And so that's the reason that was phased out. Point app will replace that.
Yeah, all the functionality should be in the Point app.
Just feel free to jump in here while I'm looking through here if you guys want to add anything. Oh, there's one other, this one kind of caught my eye too. There was a question about somebody's sick hours no longer showed on their paycheck. And apparently there was a glitch. It was kind of a quick fix that had to happen. But I was assured, I even had a screenshot shared with me before this meeting. So we've got that resolved. Some update happened, and not everyone's check showed the sick hours on the detail. So that's been resolved to the person that had asked that question. Well, we got basically 1 minute left, Adam, to get.
We'll do a closing comment.
Yeah, we'll just close. Hey, again, we appreciate all the hard work from our great people at Swift, our driving associates, our mechanics, our the non-driving support staff in the office. I mean, it takes all of us here to do a great job to make Swift work the way it does. And we know we're in a tough market, and we've been kind of battling through that and making slow progress. And we have a lot of confidence in our capabilities and what the back half could look like. But hey, it's going to be tough, and we just got to work hard, grind through it, and just figure out how we get just incrementally better every single day. And hey, look forward to the day when the market starts to turn. But hey, we're not going to wait for that. We can control what we can control. And hey, let's just be safe out there, and hey, look forward to a good third quarter.
Yeah, and to that point, I think it's important that everyone realizes, when we're not doing across the board increases, we stop doing remodels, we're not spending money where we don't have extra money, but that keeps us in business. I just saw earlier this week a 400 truck carrier in Florida that had been in business for 70 years went out of business this week. So in these type of times, this is where we kind of need everyone to roll their sleeves up. And we talked a lot about service. That's one thing. Our drivers can definitely help with service. Our shop techs can definitely help with retention, taking care of the drivers as they come into the shop, making sure our trucks aren't breaking down over the road where things cost a lot more. If you're a driver, we definitely ask that you're checking the tires, and if your tires are wearing, it's about a third of the cost when we replace a tire at a Swift shop versus doing it at a truck stop or on the side of the road. So if you get a blowout or damage on the road, hey, that's totally different. But general wear and tear, a tire wearing down, we need to always try to get that done at a Swift facility. But everyone doing their little bit, like those little things add up, And that's truly what kind of makes this company great. Is I feel like we have a lot of good people in all areas that are willing to roll their sleeves up and get through these hard times until we get to the other side of the storm.
Yeah, and we're a resilient company. We have a strong balance sheet, so when you come to Swift or other brands, I mean, we're in great shape financially, like from a balance sheet perspective. So there's not the risks that some of the smaller companies would have, but yet, hey, there's still a lot of progress to be made on our margin profile, the return profile, which, hey, we're really focused on that, but balance that with what we're trying to do with our employees as well.
Yeah, it's tough to get on top of both of those messages. So I'll close it with, one of the things I'm most proud of at Swift is that we have a group of winners with winning attitudes, and when times are tough, we bond together, we get out there and we work hard and we get the job done. We don't like to lose. We're very competitive and we like to win. So just appreciate everyone. Let's work together, not against each other. Let's support each other. Let's work hard for our customers and our teams out there. And hey, we'll get past this and things will be brighter down the road.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.